So let's talk about Don't You Forget, man.
Okay, listen. First of all,
I'm excited that people are starting to dig it, man.
yeah, I dig it, so I was hoping people would feel that way, but to me, it's been the best reception of any song we put out.
Yeah.
You agree?
I do. Definitely.
I think so. But I mean, like, to me, it's the perfect first single. Now listen to the whole album down.
Yeah.
Like, we just, dude.
Yeah. That master.
When it comes in, you're like, okay, this is clearly
Yeah.
what should introduce American Griots, which means that we did a good A&R job. Thank you, Lord.
And I'm so proud because, like, when I listen back, it's literally what we was hoping to accomplish. That feeling, that vibe, that message, the sound, the arrangement. It was just like best case scenario what we was trying to accomplish.
And I think that this whole song came about because literally we were just fucking around in rehearsal.
Yeah. You remember what was the first?
We were rehearsing. This must have been
for the Franklin show
last year, right?
Yeah.
The November show, and we finished the Christmas. We were doing the Christmas song, and at the end we were just fucking around. And he's like, "What's that?" Man, all the Earth, Wind and Fire, but like, can we talk about just like all the influences? Michael McDonald,
Hall and
Oates, that Janet Jackson. Love is what gets me through.
Yeah.
Nothing could be more true. Never replacing you.
That's all Janet.
It's all Janet.
That's all Janet.
But like the thing that makes us, to me, like nobody else, is just being able to do those transitions like that so seamlessly, because it definitely feels like Earth, Wind and Fire. And how you even get into that Janet Jackson beat section and is like, wait, how did you even get here?
Yeah.
And then my G over here on that horn breakdown.
You feel me?
Hello.
I always wanted to do that. People don't understand. Like, I started my musical journey on a brass instrument. I started with trombone and I moved to tuba and trumpet. So I'm sitting in the brass section the majority of my childhood, all the way into college. And so that's it's so deeply embedded in my musical DNA, just horns. Like when I.
Is that how you hear music? Like you hear horn?
Yeah, because I know you hear like classical piano, but for me, like every day, it's a whole horn section in my head, and it's just doing licks all day. That's always those kinds of things are always in my head. That's the soundtrack to my life. This horn section. So with the whole album, but definitely with Don't You Forget, I wanted for my first single to let people know, like, this is part of my DNA. Listen to my horn arrangement.
And to be fair, he says when we create these songs, we create them together. So but together meaning that like we first come at the piano like we did that, but then it's like I'm behind the mic and he's behind the piano or keyboards. So there is a part where kind of like we're listening to each other, but we're not like we're musically talking.
Yeah.
But we're not talking. So I remember you being like, yeah. I mean, you were pacing the floor and you were like, yeah. This is my invitation. That's me right there. Like, yeah, man. It's like, I'm gonna do a crazy horn section right here. I'm gonna do something right here. Like, I'm gonna figure it out. And I was like, cool. Because at this point, I'm like, I just know it's gonna be crazy. And then when I heard that shit, it's like, if I can add another layer to it, it's like the best of those horn arrangements that Stevie Wonder had.
Yeah, man.
Them songs in the key of life, Inner Visions. It's all that stuff where Stevie was unapologetic with just horns and organs and all that kind of stuff. That's on the album, but on that particular part, I'm like, when's the last time you heard an unapologetic breakdown, no vocals, no overly, I'm not doing all that over. Just let's get this feeling from the music.
That's why even in that section, if you notice the beginning, I even wiped the synths away. It's just horn and this.
Right, heavy drums. And that makes it feel tribal.
It makes it feel tribal.
American Griots.
You know what we're doing.
So for the Don't You Forget video, the first stage of the creative process was probably, listening to the song and meeting with Chuck and Claude, Louis York. And we talked a lot about like what the American Griots are and what that kind of means in modern day society to be someone who tells stories and passes along pieces of history. So I was thinking about that in making this video, kind of like what would it look like, what would art museums and other types of museums look like in the future, and like what will people choose to remember from this time period, and kind of like having fun with their image and what like using them and like recording them just kind of dancing and singing their song and meshing it with like historic relics and things to just sort of have like a fun, playful approach to like history and like the stuffiness kind of museums, sort of like combining the two feels, I guess. We actually did it on a white screen when we should have used a green screen. And so like they both have extremely white teeth. So every time I would key out the white screen, like I would lose their teeth. And so there was a lot of like going back and trying to like fix that. I had Chuck playing different like instruments that we have on hand around here. I had a green screen that I wrapped around them for the like toga parts. So like kind of made the folds to look like a toga, and then so in the computer I could swap out and make it look like stone and different materials.
So I mean, like the beautiful thing is that we've been getting this response from Don't You Forget, like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I think people are so used to hearing songs in small doses now. Like, so what I'm assuming people are assuming is that, wow, they did it. Like, this is a great song and that's it. But Don't You Forget is just the crack in the door to that whole American Griots experience is just, that's just one little portal.
Mm-hmm. And it's so crazy, like literally that's the last song we wrote for the album.
Yeah. And again, I think I tip my hat to our great A&R because I think that we listened back to everything. We didn't even have no order yet.
No.
But we're just like, there's a feeling missing.
Yep. It was Don't You Forget.
And it was Don't You Forget.
Yeah, that feeling.
And that's what we were like, let's go back to that thing we were jamming on at the rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
And he started playing again. I'm like, yep. And then even then we didn't write it. We took like weeks or months to really get in because we were just so, I won't say scared, but just cautious of how amazing it had to be.
And what shindled me, what gave me goosebumps this morning was when we was listening back to the master. I realized that because Don't You Forget is the last thing we did for this album, it's a preview into where we're going next.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's a preview into that, where I think Louis York will. This is our off the wall. We ain't even did Thriller.
No, like,
you know what I'm saying?
To me, this is like get ready.
Get ready, boy,
for a career of madness.
Yeah, man.
And don't you forget that we're here doing this because we got a lot more coming for you.
Yeah. We were behind the piano yesterday, just coming up with ideas.
New ideas
for the next project because this is about us emptying ourselves musically. You know what I'm saying? This is just not about us coming from behind the boards to be some kind of
for ego.
Crazy artist for ego purposes or money purposes or girl purposes, whatever people be doing. It's literally for two creative minds that's been doing this since we was 2 and 3 years old to empty themselves creatively. And so I really hope people take this journey with us because it's fruitful.
It's fruitful.
It's fruitful. Like I'm making the best music I've ever made.
Same.
And I done did some crazy shit in my life, you know what I'm saying?
Same.
But I am making the best, and as his best friend and as a fan, I can say he's making the best music he's ever made, and he's did some crazy shit.
And vice versa, man.
Yeah, man.
So don't you forget
Don't you forget,
to remember us.
album October 18th.
American Griots.
American Griots. It's the beginning of a movement coming from these two big heads right here. All that music and these two big heads
It's
right
coming
here.
out.
It's coming out.
Thank us later.